live, guys. So
Yay!
welcome.
Thank you.
All right, I want to make sure I'm not playing sound in two places. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to another exciting conversation with me and my level 3 QHHT practitioner friends and family. And today we're going to be talking about sacred motherhood. So thank you for joining us. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes to come in. And thanks for being here. All right, just a few more minutes. Let's make sure that we're live and everything's looking good. All right, very good. Awesome. We're cool. All right. So I want my guests to introduce themselves to you tonight. And thank you so much for joining me. So first, Lily, would you introduce yourself and tell everybody kind of where you are, what you do, and how'd you get into this thing called QHHT?
Oh, that's a big ask. Hi everyone. Holly, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here. And Sasha, lovely seeing you again. This is a pleasure and I'm so grateful. My name is Elena Blaj. You know me, most of you know me as Lily. So, and I'm a level 3 QHHT practitioner in San Diego. My journey, gosh, okay. So my journey started, my QHHT, my QHHT journey started in 2015, I would say, when I was looking for a cure for my back pain. I was after a back surgery that it was fine, but I still felt like, why am I still in pain? Why I'm still dealing with this? And I started to ask the universe and to connect and to meditate, and I asked for help, right? So when I asked for help, I found this coincidentally, right? I found this book. The name of the book was called The Divided Mind by Dr. Sarno. Dr. Sarno is back surgeon in New York. So he went to the Congress. He was trying to explain that actually the back pain, some people with the same issues, some have pain and some don't. And why is that happening? So he goes a little bit further explaining that those can be psychosomatic issues. It's like, what is that? Let me look into that, right? So that's when I realized that whatever was happening in my body was actually due to emotions that I had no idea how to process. I have no idea what's going on, right? And how do I forgive and how do I let go? So after I read the book, I said, oh my God, there's more to this. There is more to this. So I found Dolores, or she found me. I found one of her YouTubes and she was talking about this and aliens and healing and forgiveness. Like, that's right up my alley. So I knew in my heart that this is how I'm going to get healing. And this is how what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Because it was not only, if you go on this path, you're going to make yourself better. But I feel like finally I found my purpose. I found something that was calling me so hard that I had to drop everything, not even thinking about what I'm doing, and just fully invest myself in learning, QHHT and the way that she did it. So I was looking to get a session, and then Julia was coming in Burbank in California. I said, I'm signing up for the class, right? So, when it was a companion class, right? Live at that time. So, when you have those classes, the second day, you kind of partner yourself with another practitioner and you go and you have a session. And that's where I got my healing, right there and then.
In training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in training.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so the subconscious said, they explained to me the root cause of my pain and how I had to, you know, be brave and go back in my childhood and look at my mom, speaking of divine motherhood today, and understand her perspective, and look at my dad
Mhm.
and understanding they did everything they could, but in my eyes, I felt less than, I felt this and this, I felt, that I was carrying a load that was not mine, but that was just the reality. But just seeing that made me accept that I created it.
Yeah.
So all I needed to do is to just forgive and understand it is what it is. And besides that, that was a lesson for you, Elena, to maybe later on connect better with people and have empathy and compassion.
Mhm.
So after that session, right there and then, my back starting to make funny noises, like popping noises. And I understood that I was releasing. It felt great. I was letting go.
Yeah.
Right? And this continued because I still had some work to do. I still had to face my reality and face my childhood and go over some tough moments to really let them go, to really transmute them into something else. So it took a while, right? It wasn't right there and then, but you know how they say you have to look back 6 months and that's how you realize your progress?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, okay, this is working.
Yeah.
So then I start practicing and the rest is history. I'm here. Yeah,
Yay.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah, so many times I find that people come into this. For me, it was tragedy. It was just a personal tragedy with my son and him being he got arrested for DUI. Is how I found Dolores and found this. But illness or tragedy, people usually come to this kind of work through some sort of serious challenge. And so to me, that kind of gives me every time I'm facing a challenge now, then the idea is, well, what's the gift that this is going to give, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, Lily.
it's funny. Sorry, one more thing. It's funny that you just said that because earlier I was thinking how my spiritual adventure started since I was born in a way, but it was very tiny, very small, very gradual. And it really was emphasized when my dad passed away in 2001.
Mm,
So that opened me up for reading books and doing more research.
mm,
And then later on, when I was suffering, when I felt the pain, that really pushed me into finding a cure. So when it's an outside circumstances, from my perspective, I felt it pushed me. But when it was inside me, in my soul, in my being, then that's when it really propelled.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right, Sasha, introduce yourself. Where are you? What kinds of things do you do? And how'd you get into all of this?
Oh, thank you for asking me and thank you for having me. It's such a beautiful place to be. The energy is fantastic that we are circulating here. I'm already enjoying it every moment. And thank you, Lily, for that story. I never heard that.
Mhm.
Holly, your story I heard before, but Lily's was new to me. Thank you for sharing that. So my name is Alexandra. My friends and family call me Sasha Tarakanov Plax, and I'm a QHHT practitioner level 3 in Los Angeles. Originally, I was born in Ukraine, and when I was 15, our family immigrated to Israel, and then when I was 31, we immigrated here in the United States. And why I'm saying those details that some might think that they're irrelevant for this kind of work, but for me it's very relevant because the first place where I grew up was absolutely atheistic place. No religion, no God. If you believe in God, you're probably not advanced and you're probably not educated because you don't know what science is.
Mhm.
So it was like this. And then the next 15 years I spent in the country where religion is ruling together with, in the politics. And it's like you cannot get married without a religious court and things like that. So it's very much in the life of people.
Mhm.
And then when I came here, you can pick and choose. And this is a wonderful place where you can pick and choose and really re-examine who you are. And you don't need to convey to what this is the dogma in the country. If you fit in, you don't fit in, you pick your place. Here you can pick whatever place you like. So going through that experience, it was interesting. And I'm an engineer in my first profession. I have master degree in engineering.
I didn't know that. Me too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Hello, my fellow engineer. Look what we get into.
Your
Yes,
calling.
I'm a mechanical engineer.
I'm industrial engineer.
Okay.
So it's probably we're using some skills that we got in our master degree, but actually we are doing something else.
Right.
And it was quite tough for me to change my perspective because the upbringing and because the education. And then my kids were born here. And pretty quickly, like 6 months in, 9 months in, they started to develop very tough allergies that really make their life painful, and mine as well as a mom. Seeing that it was skin eczema all over the body, and they're itching, they're small, and the blood comes out. Like, it's terrible to watch, especially as a mom. And what can I do for you? I will do anything just to ease what you're going through. And of course, I went to the doctors. First of all, we go to the doctor, and they offered the medication that I would not use on myself, because you put this cream on the body. Next morning, like nothing happened, on the blood disappeared, and you're thinking, well, what do they put in that cream? And it was hormonal cream for, infant.
Wow.
And then I was thinking, well, what else exists? This is not answering. This is something that I cannot accept in my life. I want something else.
Yeah.
And then someone told me, you know what, Sasha, you find a professional that is, I forgot the name of the professional, but they give a little tablets that you take in, and this is building up the immunity of the body. There is a name for that profession. And I went to that, and this was my first shock, because the lady took out the pendulum and she said, you see, this is a pendulum. And I, wow, this is interesting. Never saw a pendulum in my life. Then let's check the chakra, how the chakra operating in you, like 6 years old. She was, I think, 4 years daughter, my oldest. And they thought, this chakra is not that good. I thought, what is chakra? And then she said, you buy pendulum like that. And every time that you offer food, because allergy was food allergy, wheat, eggs, any milk products, things like, anytime they need to eat, you put their left hand on the product, you put the pendulum on top, and you see if it's circling this way, yes, they can eat, if they don't. And I said, this is nonsense. But I'm willing to try, because I am ready to do anything for my kids, even to do stupid things and change my belief system. So I went with it home and I started to do it. And to my surprise, the allergy stopped. If I keep doing that, and if I give them products that only pendulum allows to give, they do have allergies. And if I give up and I decide, okay, now I looked at what the product has inside, there is no milk, there is no, and they can develop allergy.
Wow.
And I was thinking to myself, who am I asking? Who is talking to me?
Mhm.
And I didn't have an answer to that.
Mhm.
I just knew that I religiously for few years in their life, every time, and kids, they eat often, you know that, like 6 times, 8 times a day. Different products, 2 different kids, they like different stuff. And now with this pendulum, religiously checking them. And then after they became better, it's open questions. What am I speaking to? Who is answering in such a profound answers that no one else can give? And then, of course, they started going, what else exists? Reiki exists. So we started learning Reiki. And one of the, Reiki masters usually invite their class into group meditation to heal Earth. And I received one of those emails. And this was like an email when you see everyone who received it, like another 20 people. And at the end of the email, it was a little attachment with a little video of Dolores Cannon teaching Silver River meditation in Russia, Russian translation that I was laughing at. And the lady that was translating that, she was such a disbeliever of what Dolores was explaining, and I would get her face, it's like, what am I translating here? But I fell in love, and I started to search more and more and more on YouTube, of course. And I trusted and I loved it. And I came to that meeting with my other friends, Reiki friends. And I said, first of all, to my master, thank you so much for sending me this video. It changed my life. I want to do it. This is what I want to do. And she said, I don't know what you're talking about, Sasha. I didn't send you anything. And then I went to everyone in this group who came and said, did you see the video? It's amazing. What are you talking about, Sasha? We didn't get any attachment with that. And this is not the first time. After that, I received another emails from people who didn't send them actually because they deceased, like Maharaji Maharshi Yogi, like things like that, which already didn't surprise me. But this is my beginning. And of course, my kids, allergies that kids develop when they're little, they usually disappear when they turn 5, around that age. But I already was hooked, and I continued with that.
That was
The kids opened that portal for me.
Yeah. So it's fascinating that we're talking about motherhood. And Lily, you came into this because of your mother. And Sasha, you came into this because of your children as a mother, right? And I came into this because of motherhood. Because like I said earlier, my son went to jail and I was a psychotherapist. I had already moved away from engineering and into psychotherapy, and had never heard of Dolores Cannon, would never have heard of her. I was doing corporate things like leadership development and executive coaching and that kind of thing. And my son, who was 19 at the time, he ended up going to jail for DUI, and it was a really, really bad situation, very bad jail that he was in. And I was distraught and an emotional wreck, and I couldn't visit him, but I could have phone calls with him. And in one of the phone calls, he says, Mom, I found this book I think you'd really like. And it was Convoluted Universe Book 4. And so we had our conversation and hung up, and I just went to Amazon, click, get the book, no idea what's in it. And I start reading this book and I'm thinking, oh, everything I've ever believed in my entire life. And here it is in print. And I've never seen it in print before. And then I started reading and reading and reading every one of her books that I could get my hands on as fast as I could read them. And then he got out of jail, and she was having a weekend seminar in Sacramento. We were living in Phoenix at the time, and she was in Sacramento. And so I told my son, let's go see her. Let's be in the room with her. But Sasha, you'll appreciate this. As an engineer, I'm thinking I had so much respect for her, so much respect for her research, and so much respect for the wisdom she was sharing. But I'm honestly thinking, this hypnosis stuff, that's not going to work on me. That's no. But I'll go, and it'll be good healing for my son, and we'll have a nice weekend together and all of these other things. And so, of course, in these seminars, she would put 200 people into hypnosis simultaneously, right, with her group regression scripts. And the whole time I'm thinking, this isn't going to work on me, but I just, out of respect, I'm going to be here and participate. And of course, we go into the first hypnosis, and I'm having this profound experience that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt was not my imagination in a past life. And then like she pulls us out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this works. This really works. Like I'm gonna run up to the stage and tell Dolores Cannon, did you know this works?
So sweet.
She's only been doing it for 30 years at that point. And so anyway, that was in January of 2012. In February, I was in training. I'm like, I'm done. I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. This is too powerful. I'm good to go. And my son and I now, of course, my son, he's living his best life. He's a geochemist. He's got a great girlfriend. I mean, he's a happy guy. But today, now, 12 years later, we can laugh. And he tells me, he goes, Mom, you know, that's the only reason I had to go to jail was so that you could find Dolores. I'm like, I know. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for me. So that's so fascinating that all of us come to this through some aspect of motherhood. That's just so interesting. I didn't know that. That's so cool. So we're going to talk about sacred motherhood, the divine portal of life. And so we're exploring then this spiritual journey that's found through motherhood. And we have 3 examples of a relationship with motherhood that have brought at least the 3 of us into this sacred journey of motherhood. So let's talk about our own experiences of motherhood. Sasha, you shared a little bit about how it came to you. So how do you think, beyond bringing you to QHHT, how do you think motherhood has affected you spiritually, your own motherhood, you being a mother?
Oh, I thank you for asking that. It's a huge question, and
Yes.
probably we don't have all the answers. But
Yeah.
what comes to mind is that motherhood completely, it's like amazing coach that our kids are coaches that don't give up. Like every day they show up to work. And you cannot miss it, and you cannot stop. You cannot find a place where and stop. They constantly change, and they change their demand. And every time they change their demand, you examine yourself: who am I, and what am I? Like, I will give an example. Like a little child, and you breastfeeding them, and you think, well, this is okay. I can handle it. I found out, I organized the life, I have it all. And then they decided that they don't want to breastfeed anymore. And then everything needs to re-examine again. And then, oh, now they can reach the table. Oh my God, what do I do now? And then you find like what to do. And again, you have like a little bit of coming to the balance of it. And then they bring something else. And they grow constantly, and you find this balance where you are, and then they upgrade it again. Upgrade the challenge. And when they little, it's more like physical challenge, right? And when they become older, the challenges are changing, and it's constantly like a coach. Like, okay, who are you now? And to make those choices, the older they get, I have to check with myself, what are my values?
Yeah.
What am I bringing to the table? How do who am I now? Because I am changing too. It's not that we are without the change, we growed up, that's it. So how is my relationship with my husband? How do we parent together? Because it's not just the mom in the picture. There is other people too that are taking those roles to guide the kids. And what I see in that, and what I'm grateful for, that those are teachers that will always show up and will not give you rest.
Yeah. And I think too, there's this, at least when you're a new mother, Sasha, how many children do you have?
I have 2, a boy and a
2.
girl.
Yeah, I have 2 also. Lily, how many children do you have?
One girl.
Yeah. So at least with the first one, with that first child, you, as a young mother, as a new mother, you think, oh, if I do anything wrong, it'll ruin them for the rest of their life. Right? Of course, it's not true. They're very resilient. But you're always trying to, like, what's best, do the research, try to be one step ahead. And sometimes that just gives them the energy of like, not a relaxed energy, right? Not a growth energy, right? A very nervous energy. So
Really, I have a funny story about that. When I was pregnant with my first daughter in the United States, I was here maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe even less. And I understand that we need to buy stuff. We need to buy stuff because we need to buy stuff in the United States. Like, and then I go to Babies R Us, was a store like that, probably you remember. I am moving inside like huge. I was huge. Was I'm moving inside. I come to the entrance. I go through, and then I see endless amounts of stuff, and I freeze, and I have a panic attack. I will be an awful mom because I have no idea what this stuff does. And it's probably essential for motherhood because otherwise it will not be such a big culture around.
Yeah.
And then thanks God, I called my friend. She said, Sasha, don't worry, give me 15 minutes. I'm gonna be there. And please don't buy anything before you come. But this fear is real.
Yeah.
Real thing that you're talking about. What if I will not be a perfect mom?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're the worst judge for yourself, right? Kids don't see it like that.
Yeah.
It's the way that we have our hearts involved so much in raising that pressure piece of us. We
Yeah.
panic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too that it's just because of modern culture and we don't have these multiple generations around. My mother didn't live in the same place where I was when I had my first child. And even now that I'm a grandmother, I wasn't in the same city as my daughter when she had her first child. And so we don't have that wisdom, that just the everyday little tiny stuff of, just that ability to impart that wisdom. And then things really do change. The science changes, the wisdom changes, we get a little smarter over time. So, yeah.
And I think we change after them too, because they're our kids, but they're our greatest teachers as well. So besides the fact that we come from a different generation, let's not call it older, a different generation, right? The new kids are just different altogether. They have a different DNA. They're stronger. They know who they are and what they want. And for me, this was my biggest lesson, right? When I was not trying to educate, like when I had my own daughter, I was 25, so I was a baby, right? But it was what it was. So I had to take care of her. And as she grew up, I was looking at her, how receptive she is, and how she's listening to my words. And of course, she's gonna take what she likes, but still, you make such an impact on that little being. You always have to be careful, and you always have to be aligned with yourself, and that's not easy to do when you're managing, multitasking, and doing this and this and that.
Sleep deprived.
Yeah. And for me, it was like a great responsibility, an honor, because I really wanted a kid. It was meant to be, right? When you feel it so deeply, it's like she's coming or he's coming. But as I was holding that baby, that was the shock for me. I realized I need to grow up fast because this little being needs me. And it's just, in a way, being the mom, right? You're the hands-on one, right? In a way, you're breastfeeding, you're nourishing that child. So it put such a huge responsibility on me that something shifted right there and then when I had her. I wasn't the same person that I was before having her, but I didn't know that. I was just going through the motions of, now I have a baby, what's next, right? And it was such a shock for me. My daughter was born in Romania and she was 2 when we came here, but it was a funny, bittersweet moment. When we got home, we put the baby on the bed, and me and my husband were looking at each other, we're looking at the baby. It's like, what are we going to do now? What's next? But then that maternal instinct kicks in, and you realize how do I know how to do all those things?
Uh-huh.
Right? Where is this coming from? So
Uh-huh.
we came prepared.
Yeah.
This is why we
Yeah.
have to trust and to have the faith. Like we have the tools to become a mother. You
Yeah.
just need to know yourself and to, learn what you need
Yeah.
to do in that moment.
I that brings up something for me, Lily, that when I held my son for the first time, um, minutes after birth, this switch went off in my head, and I'm like, oh, I could murder somebody. I could become a murderer. If somebody were trying to harm this baby, I would have no compunction, no hesitation. I would rip somebody's heart out through their throat if they were trying to hurt this baby. Like this mama bear just like suddenly turned on. I never thought I could be a murderer,
Oh, yeah.
but I'm holding this baby and I'm like, oh no, I would defend this baby to the death. I would kill someone to defend this baby. And that shocked me. I was like, I never knew that about myself. Wow. Yeah, those instincts, man, they kick
They
in.
just kick in. And a little addition to your funny story, Sasha, because we're kind of like the same culture in a way, background, right? So I had the same shock as you did that babies are us, right? So I go with my daughter, and she was like 3 years old, and it was maybe younger than that because it was the first time. So I was in shock, but I got over it fast because my daughter started screaming and she started climbing the shelves, and she pretty much glued herself, and she didn't want to get off because I want that toy. Right? So, this is how we learned, kind of like the same experience. Like, look at this. Look at, what it's offered, and how many possibilities and offers you can bring that child. So it's in a way, it's a culture shock because you're coming from a different reality, and you come here and you're exposed to everything, and then you realize, how do I make it better and leave what I want behind and start to alchemize myself in this reality, in this world. So definitely a shock. Definitely a shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first experience realizing that I have a daughter was when I still was pregnant, maybe 4 months in, maybe a little bit more. And I meditated, not often, but one day I decided, okay, I have plenty of time. Maybe I need to do something for myself. Let's meditate. And I started to meditate and scanning my body. And suddenly I understand that there is part of me inside of me that is not me. And it was such a awareness that I, of course, never experienced before. And this shocked me. And I started to think about the different, and I started to talk to her, and I started to converse, and I had the response that I really had these conversations and connections that internal, not even words. And it was an amazing experience for me. I was already 32, and in Russian culture, it's an old mom. So, but I believe that this experience, it just prepared me forward to prepare me when she comes in. And I was so curious to meet her in person after those conversations. And I thought she is tiny, and I was afraid, you were afraid you're gonna murder someone if they're gonna try even think about, And I was afraid that, the fingers are so tiny, and how can I hold it, and how can I cut the nails? Because they're so gentle. And this, suddenly you have out of yourself, you have this living being.
Yeah.
So much love that comes with it already that it's where is it coming from? It's not that much that we know each other, but the bond is so strong. that it's like nothing else.
Mhm.
Ever
Yeah.
experienced it. It's not like to your mom, it's not like to her, it's the love that is something absolutely new.
Mhm.
And this is amazing. I wish women uh experience that if they choose so, if this is their choice,
Mm.
because it's something that there is no comparison.
Yeah. I
And
think one of the things that struck me, knowing this love, this kind of love that you can't explain, it's like I suddenly realized I'm like, oh, that's how much my mom loves me. I had no idea. Like it didn't dawn on me. Oh, that's how much she loves me. Wow.
this is definitely such a helper in understanding your mom and what she did and her side of the story. And you know, the old saying, you'll understand once you're going to have a child. It
Right.
really applies.
Right. It
Right.
really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Let's think a little bigger though. So I love that you were talking to your daughter when she was in the womb. And we can think of the womb, I think of the womb as the portal.
Mhm.
It's a portal. You know, we there's all kinds of different portals and stargates in the world. And every woman who has a womb has a portal into this dimension. That's what it is. That's where incarnation happens, right? Is through the womb. Do you think that society at large, and it's interesting that you guys have both experienced different kinds of societies. Do you think that society at large really gets it? How I guess we could use the word sacred, but how unusual or how special that way of portaling in is?
I don't think they're looking at the bigger picture, and I don't think they take consciousness in consideration, right? Because it's not just a body, it's a soul, right? It's energy, it's wisdom, it's knowledge. Where is that coming from? And, you know, just as you said, women are a portal indeed, but I think we're actually a little bit more than that because we are facilitating a different energy to come through us and to be born from a higher reality, a higher dimension, a higher frequency into this 3D little bubble, right, that we call Earth. And it's such a discrepancy, a difference between that space and what we have here. So just the fact that you're able to transcend all that and, you know, transmute that energy and help it become here, it's magic.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's literally a doorway. You become a doorway.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that explains why some babies are not coming to be born and so forth, because often, and this is what we're hearing in sessions all the time, often there is unmatched a discrepancy between the fetus energy and the mom's energy. And just because, you know, the mom maybe is not ready or she didn't, you know, get to that level to be able to hold a baby, then it doesn't happen, right? I had a lady and she was trying to do IVF for 2 years, and she kept coming to the session. She kept coming, and the subconscious always said, well, she can have the baby. There's no problem here. She can have the baby. But the thing is, fear was blocking her all the time. And the subconscious kept telling her, you do not understand the magnificence of your body. You can do whatever. You can bring not even one baby, you can bring two. But please believe, please, you know, raise your frequency, work on yourself, do the work to be able to facilitate this transition.
Yeah. Yeah. Sasha, what do you think? You've lived in so many different cultures. I mean, you described the extremes of the first two cultures that you lived in. What do you think that around the world humanity really understands the what's going on here, the sacredness of it?
I think it's a choice. If you would like to take it this way and understand this way, I understand that in the way my mom described her going through birth and carrying me, that it was a very unpleasant experience. from society and how the hospital looked like and how they treated women who were giving birth. There wasn't much special respect to that.
Mhm.
It was like another procedure. Let's get done with that.
Mhm.
Uh, and in Israel, the opposite is true. Like kids are gods.
Mm.
You cannot say something to the child. They are whatever they want to do. They need to do.
Mm.
And if you don't have 3 kids and you want to do this procedure that Lily just for free, they're gonna get because you need to have kids. You know? It's completely different. But
Mhm.
society, it's usually for them kids, like if you talk about culture and country, it's for them it's just another way to create more citizens, right? But
Yeah.
for us as the individual, it's a different story.
Yeah.
And when we talk about love and how many movies and books are about love between partners,
Mhm.
but I don't remember many about this process of being pregnant,
Mm.
how wonderful and what this actually is.
Mm.
And giving birth, it's kind of somewhere there. Let's close the door
Yeah.
after the baby is born, and then like 3, 4 months, so it will look beautiful. And
Uh-huh.
then we're gonna expose and share, you know. So I think there's not enough. Maybe we are not open yet for that. And I'm not sure it wasn't like that always. Probably it was different. But
Mhm.
I'm thirsty for that. I would like to see that more.
Yeah.
I think it help our kids because our kids, like girls, they get their menstrual period. Like, oh my God, did you get a menstrual period yet? Not yet. Oh, you're not on time or something like that.
Mm.
But it's like it's our like you just I like how you described. First time I heard that you said it's a portal. It's your portal
Yeah.
becoming active,
Yeah.
and it takes its own maintenance every month,
Yeah.
and it maintains the whole body renewed.
Mhm.
Celebrate it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there is I think I'm really thirsty to see different perspective on that.
Mhm.
And I think we will, just because, like the new kids, the new generation, they have a different mentality and they will ask and they will impose and they will have it their own way. They have a different approach than we did, and they're not as shy as we were. They're
Yeah.
not afraid of like talking one-on-one to the doctors and or whomever, adults in general, and telling them, no, you're wrong. This
Mhm.
is not how it's supposed to be done. That's
Yeah.
why I have high hopes
Yeah.
for all of us, because they're going to change the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like for my daughter to have a different way. I think she is very like straightforward. This is how I want her. She's showing me that, and I am so proud because, like you said, Lily, I was very shy. I probably it was like cultivated woman needs to be shy.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
uh, but they're not, and they're not, and they teach us too. They teach me how not to be like they're new and to listen like in Russian, like I'm Jewish, but society when I grew up was Russian. So girls they don't do sports.
Mhm.
Do they can do dance? This is wonderful. Ballet, it's very good. But sports we don't do, especially when my daughter came said, mom, I want to do water polo. And
Mm.
it's the most aggressive woman sport I can even imagine that legalized.
Uh-huh.
It's like she has a concussion every 6 months. And I
Oh
look,
gosh.
what's going, why? But again, re-examine myself. Who am I here?
Mhm.
What are my values? Are they changed? Am I
Mhm.
allowing them to change for my family going forward? What am I leaving behind? What doesn't work anymore as a
Mhm.
choice? Oh, how much I allow my kids to make their choices. And this is it's teaching me too. And I'm
Mhm.
grateful that they bring to the table those challenges that challenge every belief system that I brought through.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Even in the United States, I had two completely different experiences, childbirth experiences. for my son, I was in California and labored in a hot bath and completely natural, only women around, only midwives, and 4 hours of labor and beautiful and natural, and not even an aspirin, And then with my daughter, I was living in Tennessee, and I honestly believe that the doctor, the OBGYN, had a golf tee time at 1:30. And so the C-section needed to happen at 11 so that he could make his golf appointment. So yeah, it just completely different attitudes of the sacredness of that moment.
Yeah, I had my daughter back home, so my delivery and the whole experience was something like your mom's. Because at that time, so 30 years ago, there were no painkillers. The doctors were treating you like you're a child having a child. Probably you were, but still that entitlement makes you feel like, oh, what's going on here, right? But even the labor and everything was pretty interesting. I think that affected me later on. I don't know if that's the reason I didn't have another one, but it was very traumatic, very, very traumatic. And although my daughter helped me overcome that, I think somewhere deep inside there was and still is a hurt that from that memory. And in a way, this pain, because there is trauma here, right? It stops you somehow in the future of maybe creating a bigger family or doing this and that, right? So yeah, everything has an impact on you, but actually everything is a lesson also.
Yeah.
Right. So I think because of that experience, I became stronger and in a way more self-sufficient later on. So that was needed too.
Yeah.
Now you know how you want it to be, and now you will support your daughter and whatever, like, because you don't want her to have some. I think we do our homework so we can support later others who go through that.
Yeah, because the way that I see it, our children are part of us. Yeah, there is another soul, it's a different being, but when I look at my daughter and I'm seeing how she lives her life, and do I like everything or do I agree? Probably not, but I'm like, she's me at that age. That's okay. Okay, so it's lessons, right? And growth right there, and you're becoming a different person just watching them grow and develop. And
so let's flip that script. So yeah, you can look at your daughter and say she's me, but what about your connection to your mother? You were talking, I mentioned earlier when I held my son for the first time, I'm like, oh, this is how much my mother loves me. So how has your relationship with your mother changed through your QHHT work or your spiritual growth or your experience being a mother?
so for me, it really didn't do much because I live here and my mom was back home. And we didn't, like, we have a phone call once a month or what have you, but I lost contact.
Wow.
I can't say I have had, a relationship, but still somehow you do, and it's always there. Right? It was just that she was not present in my life because I left my country, Romania, when I was 27, right? So yeah, you go back and you visit once a year, every few years, what have you, right? But then that connection severs. But
Sasha,
still,
how about you? How has your relationship with your mother changed through QHHT or spiritual growth?
Dramatically. Dramatically changed.
Dramatically.
The first QHHT session that I had on myself, I find that along with all the other things that I was surprised to see, I was an ET and I was a group of insects and other things. Together with that, higher self chose to bring me into the womb that I was not prepared to go. and with a lot of emotions. And the emotion were, as we realized through that, when hypnotherapist asked me what's going on, why the tears are going on. And I said, my mom is deciding if she wanna have me.
Mm.
And this was, oh my God, and she chose to have. And I just thinking, well, having, I was her second child, and having the first child in the way that she was having kids, and the way that she described, like in a circle, there are women who are about to give birth, like 12 or 14, and there is one doctor in the middle, and it looks at their opening. Now you ready, come here now, and it's awful. It's awful. It's like a terrifying even to think about that. So she would like think about that. Why wanna have that? You know, again, maybe other things she would consider, but she chose to have me. And this, the moment I accepted and let go of that trauma, my relationship with my kids changed. And I remember that I realized after like few weeks after that session, I realized that my pain that I had in my throat is gone. I was reading stories to my son before he went to sleep, like 10, 15 minutes. And after 5 minutes, I would feel something there that it's difficult. It's disappeared. And of course, right after, I said, this is what I'm gonna do. So I took a course. And who do you think was my first client? Was my mom.
Oh.
Was my mom. And we did, I think, 2 sessions together, not back to back. But in the first session, she went only to this lifetime. And her question was, what this life is about? What's important here? As she was shown 6 or 8 little pieces of her life when it was a lot of love. She was born, her grandma is holding her, she is just little, and then her father is taking her to school, and then, you know, things, little bit, her first kiss, her first baby, all these love moments that happen. And of course, as a newbie in QHHT, I decided I'm not sure if the session is even valid. There wasn't past life there. There wasn't higher self there. She only saw what she knows. And little I knew how important it was for her and for me.
You see, for me, QHHT bonded me with my mom in a different way because I learned to understand her perspective and her way of being and why. So through QHHT, I learned to forgive and accept again what happened. So I let go of that trauma in a different way because I didn't get a chance to give my mom a session, nor that she was interesting because this is not who she was, right? So it's still, I think it's helping you, it's opening up your mind and helping you understand, you know, it's just a person, maybe a kid raising a kid, and that time they don't have access to knowledge and to wisdom to do better. So I have to accept that. So yeah, that was a big moment for me.
I think another that you kind of piggybacking on what you just said, Lily, there is another thing that often comes up in QHHT sessions, you know, because your relationship with your mom is probably one of the most complex relationships that any of us have, right? Whether she's living or not, whether she's, you know, did great things for you or not, or it's still, even if it was idyllic, it's still a complex relationship. And I think I see a lot of times in QHHT sessions when people are, when that comes up, when the higher self brings that up, that, well, she needs to consider her relationship with her mom, which comes up not infrequently. They talk about forgiveness, right? The need for forgiveness. Yeah. Yeah, which is I think that's what you were describing there, Lily, right? Is this sense of forgiveness that we
Yes,
need
and
for.
in addition to that, a little bit, and to forgiveness, it's to stay in their shoes a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you understand. There is no, because you just know that they had the tough choices to make. And then you have a different point of view, because our point of view naturally is the point of view of a kid. And the kid doesn't see a bigger picture. They just want things for their advancement,
Mhm.
and they just demand it. And
Mhm.
if it's not there, they're upset. They're unsatisfied. But as a mom, you look back and you think, wow, this was tough for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How did they manage to grow up me such a perfect thing, you know?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, also in QHHT sessions, Sasha, you mentioned something earlier about, you know, sometimes we take people backwards in this life and sometimes they go spontaneously into the womb and then before they were even in the womb. But my experience is when clients go into the womb, they're very aware of their mother's emotions,
Mhm.
very aware of their mother's emotions. And so that, you know, maybe that's a little bit of a tidbit for people, for younger people who are on the call tonight, that if you're going to become a mother, or if you are pregnant, be careful, because that fetus is feeling everything that you're feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah. What other advice would you guys have, knowing what you know now through QHHT? What other advice would you have for someone who's either considering being a mom or is pregnant right now, or maybe has a young child? Because the other thing I've noticed is the newest souls coming in are like very different, right? You know, Dolores talked about the 3 waves, and like all the just the youngest children now are so highly evolved. It's amazing. What advice would you guys give to the new mother, considering the evolution of the children that are coming into the world?
Just to know themselves, right? And to learn how to take care of themselves, and to focus the attention on them and the baby to begin with, and also trust they have what it's needed to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Trust that their own wisdom will open any door that kid wants to, right? To just learn to rely on themselves. Of course, outside help is also very welcome, right? As you have a baby. But as I look back at myself, you know, I was forced in a way to do it on myself because I didn't have a mom due to me leaving, right? But then I understood, hey, I chose that mom and I chose the dad and I chose those circumstances because I needed to raise a kid alone.
Yeah.
So I needed to become stronger. And again, this is how QHHT kind of helps you with, you know, your mom. But then about the new kids, in my heart, I trust they know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I trust there is, when they come in, they already come in with that higher wisdom, with that higher intuition. So my advice to them is to, again, go within, go inside, listen to your heart. All whatever you need is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Sasha, what advice would you have?
very similar, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so curious who is sitting on the light that is sitting on Lily's shoulder.
Now I'm playing
Oh
with
yeah.
it. Yeah. Hello. Welcome.
It's one of the new souls.
Yeah.
They have something to say.
You know, regarding new kids that comes in, regarding that, I remember I had a channeling maybe 5 years ago about that. Um, Teachers of Mount Shasta that I channel showed up, and they described that the kids that like we gave them diagnostic names, that they are just as we know, they're just new humanity that actually we are all not exactly humanity, but that comes in as, and they describe like it's a new iPhone, but you kind of expect it to work as an old one, but it has a new functions that you don't want to learn because you remember how this work and you don't want to like put more effort. but it has a different, it's a new technology that
Mhm.
comes here. If we consider this as a vessel that has capabilities, so they are upgraded technology that comes in, and we kind of label them because it's easier, because we need to normalize.
Mhm.
And the parents who have kids that are special, they most of the time, deep inside, they will ask themselves, what did they do to get that?
Mhm.
Because they see other parents are happy and normal kids,
Mhm.
and its society is normalized. My son needs something special. What did they do? Maybe it's karmic.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter is that you are chosen.
Mhm.
You are
Yeah.
chosen
Yeah.
because you are capable, because you're well equipped.
Yeah.
They are not equipped. That's why they're not chosen. They
Mhm.
have an old iPhone, you know?
Mhm.
You have a new one.
Mhm.
So they change the perception. Change the perception from why it's happening to me to let me learn. Like Lily said, I want to learn about myself. What can I give?
Yeah.
Why they pick me?
Yeah.
And I wish that the support will happen there. And after that channeling, they also said that they are preparing a new program for parents who have kids that are special.
Mhm.
And I decided, wow, this I need to do it. So I called some of my friends that have kids that diagnosed. And I said, I'm going to channel every time before we meet, once a week, I'm going to channel, and then we're going to do what they tell us to do.
Mhm.
And we are meeting one time and another time and another time. And it's all about parents. Now learn about yourself, who were you in the past life, learn about your parents, who were like regressions. And one lady after like a month, she's asking, Sasha, are we gonna talk about our kids? We need to. And I like I'm asking her, the kids are fine. You need to do work on yourself. Like Lily said, work on yourself. You
Yeah. Yeah. Tell everybody about your channeling, Sasha, and who the teachers of Mount Shasta are.
teachers
Because
of
we're referring to them a lot, but a lot of the people listening have no idea what you're talking about.
After visiting Mount Shasta with QHHT reunion in 2018, 1 year after, they showed up by themselves in one of the casual regressions that I did with my friends. And they said that they are preparing a program for parents, especially for parents.
And that they are the teachers of Mount Shasta, which is this spiritual
Spiritual, yes. They're
council.
non-physical beings.
Mhm.
That as a group, they deliver that support, that help that people need right now, especially parents. So for 3 years, 2.5 years, I had groups like that, and in English and Russian, different languages. And then they said that your research is complete. You can close the groups. And now you need to create, to package it so it will be more affordable for people, because it was like very high ticket offer, like $6,000 for 6 months. But it needs to be for more people.
Mhm.
So this is what I am about to do now.
Okay.
Make it available. But it was fun. It was really fun. It was fun because the people in the groups were from different countries. I had one from Ukraine, I had people from Israel, I had people from here, and they all have the same challenges. But the kid,
Mhm.
it's universal.
Yeah. So a lot of our listeners, that brings up another question. So if you don't happen to be spontaneously channeling a council of spiritual teachers like Sasha did, what advice do you have of just women helping women or people helping women as in their role as mother?
Just be there for them when they need you. Have an open heart. Remember where you were at that time, right? And trust your own intuition, trust the sea, trust the higher self. You will get the guidance that you need and information that that person needs. It's just gonna come right out of you. So it's important to keep an open mind and to understand that woman is there because she needs you. So we're also here to do a service to other women and to share our experiences from the past, not to keep them, just to share and to help them grow and them, raise their children in the very best way. Yeah.
What I notice with myself, what's the most challenge for me as a mom, and what I would like, right, looking back, I would definitely use some help with that. To have someone next to me that constantly would remind me, don't forget yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's not just physically, and it's not just taking care of yourself. It's just who you are.
Yeah.
Because everything is changing, and you need to examine it. And when you look at the artists that they do self-portraits from time to time, they paint themselves because they re-examine, who am I now? How did I change? And not to lose yourself in motherhood. And just to be with them, okay, this is a bit, let me help you if you need help, but what's going on with you, where you are now.
Yeah.
And this reflection allow them to reflect, because when we lose ourselves, when years after you look back, where am I?
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, it's like you spoke earlier, Sasha, about, how you have to be a different coach at different ages for the child. So you're constantly changing your parenting style and constantly changing what you're focused on for the benefit of the child. But you got to do that for yourself too, right? Yeah. And I think, we've been talking about little kids a lot, but also too, when your children become adults, that's a completely new relationship that you have to develop, and a new relationship with yourself, a new definition of yourself, because you've been so exhausted, just your energy so devoted to this other person or these other people, and now suddenly they're adults and they're on their own and they're off at college or they're getting married of their own or having their own kids or whatever, and it's like, oh, suddenly now who am I? Because here's another observation. I think it's so weird, and I'm wondering if in Romanian or Russian or Hebrew, if there's a word for this. We do not have a word in English for adult child. And those two words together, that's an oxymoron, adult child. We don't have a word of how to call our own offspring that's an adult without using the word child. And obviously they're not a child. But yeah, now who am I that I'm a mother, but I'm not a mother. It's a very, very, very different role.
Well, you're talking about the empty nesting.
Yeah.
And that's really challenging, being there 10 years ago, right? It's a time and a place when you really have the chance to find yourself and to dig deeper and to see what is it about that child that left the house that's affecting you so much. And it's reflecting back to you, because you have to understand, they're going on their own way and their own journey and their own path and lessons and so forth. But then you're left with an empty crib and you're trying to fill it up, but you're the one that's going to have to face the reality and look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what now? Let's talk. You and you, right? So definitely a huge challenge that life can throw. But what I would advise people going through that, just to trust, because they have what it takes. They just need to go within and see, how can I build my life from here on? Yes, the kid left, the house is empty, but what is this taking me? And often it's taking you to look at the relationship, to look inside your home and see, or oh, this is great, thank God. So the leaving of your child is putting you in certain situation that there is no way out. You have to face the reality and you have to push yourself.
You have, like Sasha said, you have to go find yourself.
Find yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you find another version of yourself, and that's beautiful. And you're starting to build that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to add, Sasha?
I don't have advice on that. I'm still with my
Yeah.
kids at home.
Get ready.
The things that I do notice that in my clients and my family, that it's really affecting an adult child, adult child. There is no words like that in English and
Okay.
Hebrew and in Russian. I'm not familiar with. It's
Mhm.
a child. Uh, it's very what really affecting them, our happiness
Mm.
of the parents. Because if we are content, if they know that we are not like sucking for the retention and that we found our life purpose that is changing constantly,
Right.
uh, they are happier.
Mhm.
And working on yourself in the way that Lily is talking about, it's actually nurturing their life because they feel more, they feel stronger
Mhm.
when they know that we are fine.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? Is that
Yeah.
your children don't need you.
We work so
They
hard
want you, but they
to
don't need you, right?
just and for them, especially in the beginning, for them that they know that they can always come. There is a place for them. There is a love for them, and there is not whatever choice they make. There is a love there, and we just admire the choices.
Mhm.
And that puts a good foundation to their future and their relationship, because that's what they do. They want to be like mom or like dad. And where would they look? Inside your home, your family, your parents. So
Mhm.
having that nucleus, that center of the family, very well looked at, can provide the children comfort and that security. Like, no matter what I'm going through life, I'm gonna be okay because I have a nest to go back to. So that, in a way, it's our responsibility to keep it soft and smooth and ready for them when they come and visit and see them grow.
You know,
Right.
there is one more topic that comes to mind that I think we can talk about. It's adopted kids.
Mm.
Mm.
And through sessions, I had the privilege to have a session with a mom. And then she said, but I have a son, adopted son, and he's 17. He would like to have a session too. And they been together in other lifetimes as souls.
Mhm.
They picked each other here, even though she adopted him when he was 4.
Mhm.
Mm.
So, and another, so there is, if it didn't grow in your uterus,
Right.
it doesn't mean that there is no soul connection.
Right.
It's there. It just, and in another session, a gentleman who was adopted, he asked about why his mom gave him up because a lot of guilt is there. And the answer was that it was prepared like that because his mom that grew him, that developed him, he was his son, that adopted him, the capacity of the soul she wouldn't be able to carry at
Mhm.
first that kind
Oh, I see.
of capacity.
Uh-huh.
But the mom, that birth mom, was capable. So it was an agreement that she will give birth and this one will grow. So
Mhm.
don't be discouraged who is listening. Oh, but I'm adopted. Oh, I have adopted kid. It's still there.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
have a similar story in a session. The subconscious said, "Well, she was born to this woman because she needed a DNA. She needed something from the biological mom. But as far as raising, this is a better person because that person will provide the lesson the kid needs." So
Mhm.
it's always a higher design that, unless we're doing, a regression, we don't really have access to. So it
Right.
helps to have the bigger picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Way
Really,
cool. Way cool. Well, we are closing in on out of time, guys. So last words of wisdom on the spiritual journey found through motherhood. Lily, what would you tell people about the spiritual journey found through motherhood?
I'll tell them to trust their heart to trust the wisdom that's inside. They chose to be a mom, a grandma, and what have you, because they have what it takes to provide in a way. So they just need to trust themselves and trust, have faith, because we're never alone. Like, we have so much support, and there is so much happening behind the scenes that we don't have access to and we don't realize, but there is help coming, and I sense it every day. I sense how people are changing and shifting. So we're going in the right way. We just need to have a little bit of faith and to know ourselves and to take care of ourselves a little bit better. That's the lesson, and that's
Yeah, great. Sasha, what advice would you give on the spiritual journey found through motherhood?
I would recommend to look at it as a privilege and as a PhD of life.
Yeah, I like that.
Doctoral degree, like high level of education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And men, don't feel bad about this, because in other lives you
You
were
were one.
women too. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, we've all been there. We've all been there. Yeah, and I loved what you said earlier, Sasha, too, about how be open to your child being the teacher, receiving their wisdom, I was in meditation the other day, and of course meditating about my granddaughter and how do I help her and whatever. And the higher self said to me, you see her as a 1-year-old infant. She's an old soul. She knows. And so I'm like, oh, what do I have to learn from her? Not necessarily to give her, but to absorb from her. So yeah, the sacred journey goes both ways.
There are things that comes to say men, fathers, it's also a huge PhD of life for them too. First, it's not just, oh, okay, now you don't have the full experience. They have huge experience. So I cannot even comprehend how big that is.
Yeah.
Seeing their woman that they love going through that, it's much more difficult, I think, to become an observer than to actually carry that.
Yeah.
So, man, please,
I have these. I was on my porch earlier today. We have a pond in front of our house, and there's 2 ducks, a couple of ducks that are living in our pond. And the mother duck comes up and she eats the seed that falls out of the bird feeder. And the father duck, it's just so fun to watch him, because he's all puffed up and he walks behind her and he protects her and he's looking around, and she's busy eating and he's looking all the way around to make sure she's safe. And I'm like, oh, he has such an important role. But that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
All right, we are out of time. So Lily, how do people find you? How do people have a session with you?
Oh, so in San Diego, you can go to my website, www.QHHTelenablaj.com, and just send me an email. We'll take care of it. It will be my honor and pleasure to help in the very best way.
Very good. Sasha, how do people contact you?
Same here, my website, Alexandra Tarakanov, the same way as at the bottom of my screen, alexandratarakanov.com, and I am in Los Angeles.
Very good. Very good. So, and also QHHTofficial.com to find any practitioner anywhere in the world near you as you're listening to this, QHHTofficial.com, and you can find a practitioner. You can sort by location. Me and Lily and Sasha are what's called a level 3 practitioner, which means that we are certified to be practicing exactly as Dolores Cannon herself practiced. There's lots of wonderful, wonderful level 1 and level 2 practitioners. I just always recommend that you ask a level 1 or a level 2 practitioner one question, and that is, do you practice exactly as Dolores did? And if the answer is yes, then go forward. We were all level 1s and level 2s at some time too. So those can be really great practitioners if they're practicing exactly as Dolores did. So highly recommend. QHHT can help you figure out, if you're a mom, can help you figure out your relationship with your son or daughter, and also unravel that relationship with your own mother. So yeah, thank you, everybody. All right, thank you.